Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy the Geek Taker. We're coming at you with another Marvel Phase 4. Where would it be today? Talking about the Marvels today. The Marvels. What actually happened with this movie, guys? Because this wasn't just another Marvel movie that underperformed. This might be the clearest example of everything that's wrong with the MCU lately at this point in time. From COVID delays, to writer strikes, to major story cuts, to people not wanting a female led movie, because yes, there are still people out there that didn't watch it or criticized it because of female leads. And there's so much behind the scenes that explains why this movie just feels empty in the way that it does. And honestly, with a few different decisions, this could have been a completely different movie that people would have enjoyed. But before we begin, I do want to point something out. We're starting to get to a point where COVID delays didn't really affect some of these projects. So, in addition to talking about COVID, I'm also going to talk about potentially the writer strike, if that affected the project, or where this would have, or what changes this could have had to the future of the MCU. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and start with production. The foundation, the production, script development. This movie went through multiple script changes during COVID, which disrupted the filming schedule, rewrites, and overall planning. And you can feel that when you watch this final product, especially in the pacing. Then you also have director Nia DaCosta, and she had a very clear style and vision based off her previous movies, Candyman, as well as her newest movies, the first 28 years later, because I don't. No, she did direct the sequel. Sorry, the 28 years later, the Bone Temple. But like a lot of Marvel directors, she has to face the Disney hierarchy and the Marvel suits behind the scenes that want to put in their mix. And her ideas and their formula that led to one of the biggest red flags, the runtime. At just 1 hour and 45 minutes, The Marvels is the shortest MCU movie ever made. Red flag, that usually does not happen unless a lot of information was cut, which obviously leads us to the cutting. Marvel obviously is known for reshoots. We just had reshoots not too long ago with Doomsday. Obviously, we're going to have more with Secret Wars and so on and so forth. But something about these reshoots felt different because the movie moves fast. Like, I'm talking Dominic Toretto Fast and Furious. Character moments felt rushed. And certain story beats, especially with the villain, feel really extremely underdeveloped. And that's usually a sign that entire scenes or subplots were removed very late in production. So instead of a fully fleshed out story, we get this. And adding on to this, we have the issue of context. A huge issue with this movie is if you're not a super fan or if you don't subscribe to Disney Plus, you're going to be extremely lost because general audiences may not have done the homework. And unfortunately, you may have had to do a little bit of homework to understand this movie, such as WandaVision to understand Monica, where she is, why she may have issues with Captain Marvel, where she got her powers from, because last you saw her, she was a little kid. Miss Marvel, because if you didn't, you would literally have no idea about this character at all. And unfortunately, Secret Invasion. Kind of, I guess. And that's kind of a problem because if you're like me, you want to pretend that project never happened and you never want to watch it again. And I don't know if I will watch it again. That project was so bad. But if you don't watch these, you're going to walk into this movie feeling disconnected. You're not going to understand story points. And character focuses. That's our next topic. Let's start first with the main character, Carol Danvers. Now, in her first movie, she kind of felt bland, and then the Russos took over, and she felt like she actually had growth in Endgame. And then we get to the Marvels. This movie tries. It really does. It tries to give her more personality, more emotion, but because of the pacing, it never fully lands properly. And that's not a problem on Naya. It's not a problem on Brie. It's the studio's fault. Not even Marvel. Again, Disney, the suits. The suits ruin the projects. But when you look on the flip side, you have Kamala Khan, Iman Vellani. And honestly, she, to me, is the main character. She kind of steals the whole freaking movie. She's the best part. She brings the energy, the humor, the heart, but also that kind of creates a weird balance with the main character because even though it's called The Marvels, it's a sequel to Captain Marvel mainly. And then there's Monica Rambeau. Her storyline between Carol, the emotional potential that was there, but you get a little bit, but again, it feels rushed, so you don't get the proper development on her beef with Carol, her connection with Carol and her mom, and her not being there, and so on and so forth, or how she got to Sword, and etc. etc. And don't even get me started about the villain, Darbin. She had an interesting concept, but almost no development at all. Her motivations were barely explored, if like barely. And her screen time is limited. In this movie that's an hour and 40 minutes, you she probably had I should look this up and I'll probably when I'm editing I'll have to look it up. She probably had maybe I'd argue 40 to 50 minutes of screen time if I had to take a guess. She never felt like a proper threat until the end when she had her big bad power up. And that's really where the cuts kind of hurt the most because it feels like there's a lot more there. She's the wife of Tom Hiddleston, who is one of the best characters you have in Marvel. She probably could do a damn good job. And we just never got it. But now we're talking writer strikes. And I don't think a lot of people really think about this at the end of the day. Because of the writer strikes, nobody could promote the movie. There was no interviews, no press tour, no viral moments. And in today's society, when you're on social media and that's what drives, that's a that's huge. That's a lot of the marketing. A lot of audiences aren't going to watch this or even know this is coming out. Truthfully, and unfortunately, it doesn't help that the marketing with the trailers they did have felt off and misleading. Some of them leaned very comedic, or they showed old Avengers products, which you guys are going to see in the green screen behind me, and that doesn't really match what audience expected from a Captain Marvel movie. So the hype never properly, I think, lived up to expectations. And also on top of that, we also are now at this time we're developing with backlash. There's a hell of a lot of fucking criticism with this movie online, but not all of it was fair. A lot of it is again people not wanting female leads, but also a lot of it is people having superhero fatigue, specifically Marvel fatigue, because that's the big thing right now. And it's a very real thing, I will say, at this time, because we have too many projects in development. There's too much required viewingship when you have like almost double the amount of screen time in phase 4 and phase 5 than you have in the entire Infinity Saga. It's ridiculous and inconsistent quality. And the Marvels ended up taking the brunt of it all, unfortunately. And because of that, and a future movie which we'll talk about later with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, that really changed the trajectory of the multiverse saga at the end of the day, and probably for the better, because I think it really showed the suits and Feige that they need to step up their game. So, what could have saved this movie? Truthfully, to me, here's a couple things that I think that would have easily saved this movie. First and foremost, a longer runtime. Let Naya tell her story. Let Darbin get development. Let Carol and the rest of the girls get their development that they deserve. We less reliance on Disney Plus shows. I get it. You have Miss Marvel, you have WandaVision, but maybe in the trailers give some indication about these characters, the backgrounds, who they are, where they come from, so that way general audiences don't have to pay for a subscription to watch this to understand these characters. More focus on Carol as the emotional center of it all, being the main character. And honestly, a better release time, because dropping this after a series of mixed MCU projects that honestly didn't do it any favors at the end of the day. But let's talk about something that was kind of good, not good, but let's say what this could mean for the bigger future of the MCU. This movie might be a turning point where we've already seen signs of Marvel slowing down quantity over quality. Now we're focusing more on quality. And characters like Kamala Khan are clearly being positioned for a bigger role in the future. Monica is being built up as a seemingly big part of Doomsday and or Secret Wars. And Carol, well, we don't really know. This is really just a wake-up call. Let's talk about the post-credit scenes going back to Kamala and Monica. So let's start with Kamala. I don't think this was post credit scene. I think this was, if I remember right, this was actually the end of the movie. So at the end of the movie, we see Kamala recruited Kate Bishop in a very Nick Fury, Tony Stark comparison. Which, if you look at it that way, to me that tells me that Kamala and Kate are probably going to be the two big parts of the Young Avengers or the Champions, whatever they decide to call them. And after years of introducing all these young actors for these projects, it's nice to see a moment where they finally start to connect. Um, it's kind of crazy that it took this long for us to see a connection of the two for the Young Avengers, and now we already have Billy Maximoff, we have Kamala, we have Cassie, we have Kate, and we have Isaiah. Was that his name? Yeah, Isaiah, or was that the Eli? Eli, that's the grandson. Now we're just missing Tommy, who is going to be coming later in Vision Quest, and Hulkling, and boom, we have our Young Avengers slash champions, which is probably going to be a part of Secret Wars based off of the rumors that we've heard and the concept art that we've seen. And hopefully, this will lead them to getting their own series versus a movie, because I think a series will benefit these young actors better than a movie, because I don't think people would actually go watch a Young Avengers Champions movie. That's just me personally. I would watch it regardless. Um, and that leads us to the actual post-credit scene, which is Monica Rambeau in a different universe, and we got the return of our first X-Men Kelsey Grammer returning as Beast, and also Lashana Lynch as Maria Rambeau, this time as Binary, a Captain Marvel counterparts synonym, if you will. And being a part of the multiverse saga, we finally get the multiverse, really, and we're starting to deal with another universe, more possibility of an incursion. This, I think, is really going to start exploring the connection between the X-Men universe and the MCU universe. Beast is going to try and understand maybe what's going on and how he can help Monica before an incursion happens. Um, but the real question, though, that I think is on everybody's mind, is this the Beast from the Fox X-Men, or is this a completely different Beast? Because that could easily change things really bad. Not bad, but confusing. But luckily, that's something that Marvel's been setting up slowly but surely, and we're going to get the answers to that hopefully in Doomsday. And that's kind of really where we stand with the Marvels. I mean, there was stuff that was wrong with this movie. I get the criticism, but at the end of the day, I think if you go into this with an open mind, it's not a bad movie. And unfortunately, with everything that was said, you can see why it got the criticism, it got the hate that it deserved. Like, this movie is better than Captain Marvel, I'll tell you that for damn sure. And let me guys know in the comments if you think if the movie was longer, if that would have made you enjoy this more. Let me know what you guys would like to see in the future. If you enjoy this video, please make sure to hit that like. Don't forget to share with your friends and subscribe for more.